Hello and welcome back to Desert DIY. If you are new here, my name is Corey. This is my buddy Piper, and today I'm going to be bringing you a new video where I fix up an old bench that I got from a yard sale, although I did hear from one of my viewers that that bench is something that was sold out of a hotel, that they had one also and came out of a hotel, and I could totally see that being true. So I hope you enjoy this fun, colorful makeover, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. And I am trying my hardest to hit my goal of 50,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So please help me reach my goal and hit subscribe down below if you like furniture flips and thrift store flips and any kind of fixer-upper befores and afters, because that is my favorite thing to do. The first thing that I always do is I give the piece a really good cleaning. So this piece was really dirty, and I used Lysol wipes to clean down the seat. The good thing about it was that it was a pleather material, so it was easy to wipe down. And then I just go ahead and assess the damage that the piece has at the moment, and it really didn't have much damage. I just needed to remove these little posts at the bottom here. They had wooden dowels inside them, so I just went ahead and wet them. I dipped them in some water and then used some Gorilla Glue and clamped the whole thing back together and let it dry for about a day. Here you can see a close-up of how it was wet, and I put the glue inside there. I use quite a bit of glue just because I want to make sure that it fills in any gaps that are in there in the holes. The reason this happens to older pieces is a lot of times the wood dowels will shrink, or if they get moved around a lot, like this piece spun obviously. So when you move it around a lot, you kind of bore out that hole that the wooden dowel went into. It's really a common thing that happens to furniture with wooden dowels. It's so easy to fix though, so it literally was as simple as gluing and clamping it back together. Well, I guess there was one kind of hard part, which is right here where you see me struggle. My little short legs couldn't reach over there to stretch it out, and I ended up having to just adjust and use my brain and be working smarter, not harder. When you're a small person, you really do have to find creative ways to accomplish things without help. Or if you're just one person doing a job that two people could do easier, then you just have to be kind of smart and use your body in smarter ways so that you're using less strength for the same amount of a result. These are clamps I just got from the Harbor Freight store. They're really cheap ones. I didn't get anything special here for this, but I do use these clamps a lot. And if you are somebody who is going to be fixing up a lot of wood furniture, I highly recommend you get a set of larger clamps like the ones that I have. And now I'm just going to go ahead and take the base off of the seat. And it was just with some Phillips head screws here. It was very simple to take off. And then I used my smart body sense to put my weight on the seat so that I can pull the top or the base off. And then I went ahead and used some cool gadgets that I just bought. I saw on a car washing video that they used these special brushes to clean upholstery and all the little parts inside the interior of the car as well as the exterior. And I thought, wow, I can use those for my furniture projects. And this piece was so disgusting. It had 3 pieces of gum on that. I saved you from having to see that because that's just gross. But when I saw the first piece of gum, I was like, I'm pulling out the big guns on this piece. Once I was done cleaning and wiping it down, I scuff sanded it nicely. And then this is the fabric that I chose, you guys. What do you think of it? I just fell in love with it. It's so beautiful. I love how it had the soft stripes as well as the colorful flowers. But I wanted to pick a color of paint that was like that soft stripe inside the background of the fabric. So that is why I am mixing some tan paint into regular old flat white paint. I went with a flat color because first, it sticks really well. And second, I thought it would help kind of hide any imperfections in the wood so that I didn't have to work my hands to the bone sanding down any imperfections on this piece. And then I always start my pieces upside down. If you've been watching my channel for a while now, you will know that I always start my pieces upside down. It just makes the painting process go smoother and you get better coverage this way. That way when you flip it right side up, you hit any pieces you missed while you were upside down and you don't have to worry about missing anything from the underneath side. So I just turn it around, get the other side, and this paint had really great coverage. I ended up actually mixing in a little bit of a Waverly brown paint. Waverly is a brand of paint from Walmart in the craft section. And then while that first coat is drying, I'm going to go ahead and iron the upholstery before I upholster the seat. I always time my projects like this to where when I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I'm doing something else. So the first thing I'm going to do is put on some quilt batting to kind of cover up that corner area. If you see on the seat there, it has some welts, or I'm not really sure what that's called, but the corner pieces, like trims, stick out. They have a texture and they stick out. So I'm trying to hide any textures, as well as hiding, there was one like split in the fabric. So I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to come through my new fabric. There was no sense in removing this fabric to put new fabric on because, one, it's pleather, so nothing yucky is gotten in there. And two, it's holding the padding in there in the perfect shape to redo a new bench. And for the corners here, I will show you a closer look at how I do the corners. I will also do a close-up on how I do the corners of the fabric itself. This is literally the easiest corner that I have learned how to do. There's a couple different ways you can do a corner, but when it is a 90-degree corner like this, I really, really like the method that I did on this piece. So if you are somebody who is new to upholstery, this is a really good method for you to learn. It's very, very simple, and you don't need any fancy tools. And right here, I'm just cutting off the excess of that batting so that way I can tuck in and make that perfect 90-degree corner there. And then you just go ahead and pull it tight and staple it. It's a really simple process, and after you do one corner, the rest of them come much easier. But it should look like this when you flip it over. Nice and smooth, no wrinkles. And the way to achieve that is to just pull the batting tight. I'm going to do the exact same process for adding the fabric on that I did for the batting. And you will see in the very end now you don't see the trim or that welt edge that was on the piece before. You don't see that through the batting anymore. So it's not as obvious that I just recovered a piece instead of completely reupholstering it. And the stapler that I'm using right here is called a T50 staple gun, and it is a little hard on the hands. I'm pretty much just waiting until I convince myself that I need a pneumatic one, because I mean, I hate my air compressor. It is so loud, but it really would be powerful enough to save my hands from the hurt that I get from using this staple gun. But here's a closer look at how I do these corners. I'll do this one quickly, and then I'll do the last one much more slowly so that you can see what I did. But it's really just going around the corner, stapling, and then tucking and making a vertical fold. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. So I'm going to go around the corner here, staple it as I'm going so that I'm keeping it pulled nice and tight. It doesn't matter if there's wrinkles on the underside. It only matters to keep the wrinkles from not showing on the outside, like where you're actually going to see the fabric when the piece is finished. Now I'm going to tuck it in there with my fingers as far as it will go. If there's any issues with you being able to tuck it tight enough, you can take the scissors and cut off some excess there so it's easier to tuck in. But this corner, I don't know why I didn't have to do that. Sometimes it turns out that way. Then you cut off the excess and staple it nice and tight. So I just do one here, another one over here, and the last one for good measure. All I did was just pinch any kind of excess flaps that were hanging around, pinched them together and stapled them down. Now I'm going to take an old window curtain that I got from my grandmother, who is 93, almost 94 now. And she gave me this curtain so many years ago, and I haven't had a use for it in my new home, so I'm going to use it here. The piece of wood that is underneath the cushion here is made of particle board, and old particle board starts to kind of flake when it gets dried out. So I'm going to use this fabric to make sure that it doesn't leave any dust when I am done with this piece, when I sell this piece or donate this piece. That way the next person who owns it doesn't have any issues with that particle board, like leaving any dust or dirt or anything like that. And all I did was just cut the edges a little bit extra long and then fold them under so that it had a nice finished edge. It's a perfect no-sew project. First coat is finally done drying, so I just flipped the piece back over now. Like I was talking before, I always start upside down and then flip it right side up. It covered completely in this second coat. There was no other coat needed, and since I used a bare paint, it did not need to be sealed. It already has a sealer in it since it is like regular wall paint. And then I just went ahead and reassembled it. It was literally just screwing it back in. That simple. And this trim here is a faux nail head trim. At least that's what I'm going to call it. But I used a fabric hot glue and hot glued it on to the edge just to give it a finished look. Now this is what makes this project an easy beginner project for somebody. If I were to be using a real nail head trim, there would need to be nice sturdy wood behind there, and it's really difficult to do, and you have to have a special little hammer and pliers. And I just bought this from Walmart, and it was in the ribbon section over by the sewing area. I also picked up this fabric from Walmart as well. It was a Waverly brand fabric, which Waverly is really good quality, and they have amazing fabrics. I love the designs that they have. But I hope that the future owner of this bench enjoys its fun quirkiness and appreciates where it came from and how it turned out to be now. I'm going to attempt to donate this to a teen who has aged out of foster care, but it is quite large, so if I can't find a home with somebody like that, then I might go ahead and sell it on Facebook Marketplace. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!